was nice. All right, well, welcome all. This is Leader here with another edition of Verses. We're in the volume 2 now, so we've swung back around. I didn't hit all my synths, but I hit a lot of them, and I figured before the end of the year I thought I'd bust out the Deepmind 12 once again. So, quick overview. This is a 12 voice fully analog signal path. Well, caveat, can be fully analog signal path synthesizer. And when it came out, correct me if I'm wrong, but I do not recall there being a 12 voice analog synthesizer under $1,000. I think I paid $850 for this when I first got it. It's significantly cheaper now. I think it's like in the $600-700. Well, who knows with tariffs, but it's pretty cheap. Nonetheless, 12 voices, pretty well stocked amount of modulation. We're talking 3 full envelopes, 2 that are dedicated, 1 to the amp, 1 to the filter, and then you have a third modulation envelope. In those envelopes, you get to adjust the curves. You don't get extra stages. God, I wish everybody did extra stages, but you get to adjust the curves, which is really great. And you can do that across all the, not the sustain, of course, because that's not really a curve-based or a linear-based section of the or stage of the envelope, but attack, decay, and release can all be adjusted for every one of these guys. You also get 2 oscillators, very well established, very well stocked in terms of parameters, very high functioning LFOs, if you will. You get a 2 versions of the waveforms here, so you're going to get a sawtooth and a square, aka a pulse width. You can adjust the pulse width on that square, and you get a second oscillator, which is going to just be a square. So limited in the oscillators for sure. From my understanding, this is mimicking, or was supposed to be maybe a homage to the Roland Juno 106. I do believe Behringer is going to be releasing a more dedicated version. I'm not really sure what they're going to do different. But anyways, this is like a beefed up Juno 106. At least that's what people have mentioned in the past. I don't think Behringer's ever officially said that. Although I will say they did rebrand it, if I think recently, within like the last year, to make it look just like a 106. So anyways, other things modulation-wise, a banging modulation matrix. We're talking like, I think it's at least 12. Let's see, only 8. But still, you get 8 with a ton of sources and even more destinations. It's pretty fantastic. So that really opens this guy up. On top of that, you're going to get your arpeggiator, full, beautiful arpeggiation system here, and also a control sequencer, which can be a source in the modulation, which means you can basically get, I think it's up to 32 steps, and do some real fun, modulation sequencer-wise, which is pretty great. And you can use that, multiple times, so you can basically adjust several parameters that way. In fact, with this one, I'm using the first and second. You should be able to see that, yeah. The first and second sources are, in fact, the control sequencer. So that's really cool. I have to admit, I got the synth originally, and when I first got it, it was my first kind of big keyboard synth, even though it's not actually that big. It's kind of smaller, really. But I was not that blown away by it at first. I put that mostly on me because I just didn't have a really good understanding of how to make good sounds, and I was really struggling with the fact that these 2 waveforms were all you really get. Since then, I've spent some time with it, and I'm very, very happy with the synthesizer. But I will say the UI can be a little bit of a challenge, too. There are a lot of great functions and parameters underneath the menu here. You got a menu dive. But, excuse me, there is a lot. And then I sort of hinted at it about the idea of this thing being fully analog in terms of signal path, but you can run it through a 4-slot effect system. You can either send or you can do a direct mix. So you can essentially, remove the analog signal path if you want to. Sure, why not? Who knows? Regardless, it doesn't honestly change that much from my ear. But overall, it's still pretty amazing the effects you get on this thing. You get 4 slots. They are very quality effects, I will say. I really enjoy them. Honestly, they kind of make the synth a little bit... At first, the cost totally gets you in the door. And then you realize, it's a good synth. It's a great synth, actually. But, if money was not an object and you were looking for a 12 or even like a 6 to 8 voice, there are better synthesizers out there, I have to admit. Like, the David Smith instruments, or sequential. And then, of course, Moog and a few other ones that are making, or Oberheim, those are really expensive but really high quality synth. This is still great, but it's still more of like that Juno 106 where it's trying to fit into a cheaper branch or a cheaper level echelon of synthesizers. So, anyway, for the amount of money that it costs to walk into this guy here, what a deal, because it is a fantastic synthesizer. It can cover a huge scope of things. I love it for pads, to be honest with you, but this is probably more me. I don't find my leads very strong on this. I almost always gravitate to a Moog for a lead because I just love that big energy you get from a Moog. You can certainly do that on here, but for pads and keyboard sounds, 12 voices, can't go wrong there. It is killer. It's killer. The basses are good too. The filter to me is not quite as robust as you're going to find on a Moog, of course. I mean, that's like Moog's whole thing. But it does the job, and I can, I've forced myself. I shouldn't say forced. That's a shitty way. That's a bad way to say that. I had limited myself on purpose to create songs using single synthesizers, and I wanted to do one with this guy. And I did, and I really, really enjoyed it. I covered all the bases, lead, bass, all that stuff, and it was fantastic. I thought it sounded really great. And there's something about it, I have to admit, it's got this, I don't know, I can't really explain it, but it's got this somewhat it reminds me of an 80s synth all the way, obviously Juno 106, but it's got this kind of edge to it, is the best I want to say, because I don't want to sound diminutive. I don't want to say it sounds thin or it sounds digital or anything like that. It just has this kind of sound to it that I love it. It's like a sheen. It's like listening to an old record where you're like, there's a sound to that we don't do anymore. This one has that for me. The last thing I want to mention before we get into playing is this. Although this is a 12 voice analog synthesizer, it is DCO, which stands for digitally controlled oscillators. Vintage synths are going to be VCO, even modern ones too, honestly, like the Moogs and stuff. That's the traditional, like, slightly unstable oscillators. They're going to do some kind of really nice, thick phasing here and there. They're not perfect, is the point. Digitally controlled oscillators can be essentially, I don't like to use the word perfect, but in the realm of, like, just what it sounds like, perfect. Like, they are just spot on. The tuning's great. Everything's is right where you expect it to be. You do have calibration features on this thing if this ever goes out of whack, but the main thing I wanted to show you was you can come over to, where is it, on the poly here, you hit edit, and you can do oscillator drift and parameter drift, and you have a drift rate for those, a drift rate parameter, meaning you can give that little bit of unpredictable analog VCO feel to it, and it really does. It really opens it up. So just to give you an idea here, let's hear what this sounds like again. So I have been using like a little bit of pitch shifting and drifting to kind of get this thing. I did that through the mod sequencer. Ooh, sounds a little sharp. So there's a little action going on already. So maybe this isn't the best patch to show you, but I still am going to do it. I'm going to just crank it. So this is all the way up. And another thing I like to is, I don't know if you can see. Yeah, you can. It's 255. Which 0 to 255 technically is 256, parameter settings or whatever, the digits of parameters, or a setting. And they basically doubled what you would consider standard MIDI, which I really like. So it's kind of its own. I think I've never really seen that before, from my experience. But basically, most of these, on any other synth, these parameters will go from 0 to 127, 128 steps. That's the MIDI standard. They went ahead and doubled that. So you get basically double the resolution when you go to, like, affect things. And honestly, I'm here for it. Hell yeah. I want less. These are digitally controlled elements here that control the analog engine. So you can have some zipper noise and all these kind of other things that can happen with digital stuff because it's not analog. This does a really great job of emulating all that analog stuff between the drift parameters and between the double the resolution for the parameters. It's pretty amazing. And honestly, the settings keep going. I mean, you can do all sorts of great stuff in here. I want to mention this real quick. They were coming out strong with this, and they really tried to do a few things. One of them seemed very interesting, and I guess it just never did anything. But you could do VR with this thing. You have to look it up. It's God, it's got at least be 7 years old, that video, if not older. But basically, you have somebody in some sort of VR headset, probably like an old HTC or something, and they're affecting parameters and playing it in virtual reality, which is hilarious. So I don't know. I feel like they came out with it and then they whatever. But so the Behringer Deepmind 12. This was the foray, the beginning of Behringer's foray into synthesizers, and honestly, they came out so strong. Like, it is a clone-ish, but they definitely made their own twist to it. And I'm kind of surprised they didn't continue with that, because I do love the clones. Don't get me wrong. I got like 3 or 4 of them back here, and I love them. They're wonderful. But I would probably, I'm not a purist. I would probably love them if they also had all the stuff that, they couldn't do back when those originally came out. Like, if my 2600, my BARP 2600 had presets somehow, or, if the whole thing was like a MIDI controller essentially and did that, or say, the Cat, or the, well, they did beef up the Behringer Pro 800, so that kind of stuff. I love it. I'm all here for it. Honestly, I just gotta say, like, I hope they do more of their own original twists and takes, because this is a pretty darn good synthesizer. You can get a rack mount version or a desktop version, and then you can also do a half 6 Deepmind 6. I think they came out to kind of reduce the cost, but at this point they're so cheap, you're not going to save that much getting a 6 versus a 12, I don't think. All right, let's make some sounds. I'm going to go ahead and go to the next patch program. Oops, did I go right? Yeah, okay. We're going to program here. Let's hear what the filter whip is. I didn't erase all the presets on here, and these are the original. Well, most of them are the original presets. Ooh. All right, so hold program, compare. There's a lot of actually kind of like hidden, non-mentioned little keyboard commands, or button commands, if you will, that are on here, which is great. That was one of them. If you hold down program, you get this little menu here, and you can hit compare, and that gives you an initialized program. One thing I'll mention too, if you do get one of these and you're like, it's kind of soft, you will actually go into here, into your VCA, and you can adjust the velocity sensitivity. Right now it's a 128. You can go all the way to 255. So the keyboard's pretty good. It's not the best, but it's for the price, honestly, it's pretty dang good. And you can hear it's a little, hard to be consistent on the lower levels, but anyway, I'm going to turn that down. So I was going to say, if you feel like it's really quiet when you first start using it, because a lot of people who buy synthesizers are not keyboard players or are not piano players. So you're thinking, I'll just push a key and it's going to sound reasonably loud, like most synthesizers do. But the initialized preset on here does include velocity sensitivity. So for example, if we turn it all the way down, much louder. So you can, that's just a nice way, especially if you're just getting into it and you're not a keyboard player, you want to hear the sound to its fullest, then you're going to want to do that. So I like to have a little velocity sensitivity. I'm going to go 46. Maybe a little more than that. We're going to go halfway, 76. Yeah, that's better. Okay. This thing is the best at pads. It's one of my favorite synthesizers for analog pads. Like, I'm probably gonna use this first when I think about that, just because I love it. It's got a great sound and it's tons of modulation. So let's make one. Let's make a pad. Well, something I never do is just a square for a pad. I almost never do that. So let's go ahead and do that. I'm going to go ahead and zero this whole thing out. So PVM in the middle, that should give me a square wave. We're going to do pitch mod down, tone mod down, pitch down, level down. This is our second oscillator here. Noise level down. Turn the data. Oops, nope, I want that back up. What was that, 76? Frequency all the way open, res down, envelope down, LFO, keyboard all the way down. Level will stick about 0. High frequency boost. Let's see. Yeah, okay. And let's zero this guy out. Boom, boom. Okay. That is basically zeroed out. So let's see what we got. I think I'm crazy. It's a square wave in the bottom, but... And I guess that makes sense. If you have it in the middle, essentially you're just phasing back and forth and you essentially get the same sound. So, okay. Alright. Cool. Alright, let's do it. First thing we're going to do for a pad, one of the first things I think, is you're going to go ahead and bring up the attack because you want a nice slow entrance for that sound. I'm going to do the decay about halfway, sustain about halfway, and the release I tend to like to match the attack. All right, let's hear it. A little slow. Be a very, very lovely patch for something that was a real slow song, but that's not what I'm going for right now. What I really love about 12 voices is you can really crank the release, and unlike a 6-voice or even an 8-voice synthesizer, you're unlikely, or at least less likely, to cut off those voices. Very nice. Okay, very simple, but okay, we need a little more decay on that. That came off too fast. I'm going to match the attack. I'm going to do this like warble thing there. I'm going to bring the decay up a more and the sustain down. Let's hear. There we go. Cool, much better. Okay, another thing here, we have this, this is one of the many under the hood parameters, if you will, or menu diving parameters. They have this VCA mode. They call it ballsy or transparent. Honestly, I'm probably going to shoot for ballsy most of the time because it just gives a nice, I guess, I don't know, ballsiness. Just a nice little, it's thicker and it's got more punch. But for a pad like this, I think transparent. Something a little more even. We obviously are doing a slow attack, so we don't need that ballsiness. I don't know why they chose that term. All right, that's the VCA. We can get out of this guy. The screen, I should have mentioned this. Man, it's not great. It's not great. It's not bad, but it's not great. I don't know what to say about it. It's very readable and visible for the most part. In some lights, it can be kind of a pain in the butt, but it does the job. I just wish it was, I don't know, a little darker. I mean, obviously, I'm used to OLEDs. Everything in mind now has OLEDs, and so it's hard to see this thing. It's not as good. But again, you know, they had to cut corners somewhere, I guess, or I shouldn't say cut corners. They just had to save costs. They were trying to make it affordable, and, you know, they did a great job. Man, I wish they would have done, like every synth I wish they do, just a simple, it could be a low resolution, like VGA output, I don't care, something, just so I could see these kinds of screens on an actual screen. Yeah, that's a whole other discussion. I don't know why I'm getting into that. So, anyways, let's get into this. So, we have a nice little square. I'm going to go ahead and add the second square. So, oscillator 2 is only a square. So, let's hear what we got. This is, the pitch is all the way down, so we should be an octave below. probably get this line. Oh yeah, if I sync, then you'll hear. It almost sounds as if it's just louder, but I want to take the sync off because I want that little bit of. Oh man, God, I love phase. It is such a good sound. All right, well, let's go to actually the VCA again. No, sorry, it was the poly right here, and we're going to go ahead and create a little bit of oscillator drift. We're going to set this at 17. We're going to do a little bit of parameter drift, which supposedly, I mean, I can't prove it, but it takes all the parameters, or at least the ones I guess maybe it picks. I'm not sure. But supposedly it's all. So we'll just say all. And drifts them just a little bit as if it were an old vintage synth that, you know, either needs service or just when it was built just wasn't really all that stable. And, you know, perfection is something to attempt, but reality is what you get, and the flaws that come with it are what make it special. That's where the character is. So you're getting some character out of this, additional character, by having these parameters. I love it. I think it's a great idea. There are times where I want a clean, solid synth sound that's not, you know, not doing much in terms of phasing or anything like that, but most times I want that little bit of phase. So you can go how high? Yeah, 255 on the drift rate. So I'm going to set it about 26. That should be around 10%. Let's just hear what we get if we put a lot in there. So that's 17. Oh my gosh. Oh. We'll go 20. That is lovely, and all that we have done so far is just use 2 square waves with a simple pad-based envelope and a little bit of this oscillator drift. We got a ton more we can mess with, so let's keep going. All right, let's see. We could mess around with some unison and detune, but I really would like to preserve as many voices. You do only get 12, so once you start messing with unison, you'll start stacking those, and basically you'll get down to essentially one single monophonic voice that's blasting 12 oscillators. Well, sorry, 12 voices, because you actually get, you know, 1, 2, 3 waveforms, so you can really start tacking them on. So let's get out of here. What should we add next? Maybe we should get a little bit more movement out of, say, an LFO. But I'm trying to decide if I should send it over to the filter. Let's wait on the filter. I want to hear what this tone mod here. This is a tone mod parameter for oscillator 2. Let's hear what this really sounds like. Let's give me that kind of V-sync thing. Okay, so I like it from this range here. I don't need any of this upper stuff, so I really just want a little section here. So what I'm going to try to do, actually here, let's see what the LFO will let me do. Triangle, okay, it does not have the option to do unipolar, meaning it just uses the top half or perhaps the bottom half of the waveform. So what I'm going to try and do now is try to find the middle. Maybe like right there, 21. Okay, now we're going to our mod matrix. So we're going to hit the button mod here under the data entry, and we are now in the mod matrix. God, I love this thing. I'm going to go, I want to see something real quick. No, okay, it is 8. So this is a cool feature they added after a few updates. If you hold down the mod button, you can see real quick we have our source, we have our depth, and our destination. Pretty straightforward here. I'm sorry, let me do it this way. Source, depth, destination. But if you hold down the mod button, you can actually assign everything directly and save yourself a little knob turning. Where's my frequency? Wait, no. We were doing the tone mod. I have to move it, unfortunately. Just a little bit. Okay, let's come over here. Let's do a depth of, I want it to go all the way down to 21 and up. Let's hear. We gotta increase the LFO1 rate. Let's do it about that fast. It's got some kind of, almost sounds like it's aliasing. It's not, but it's got that like kind of sound to it. So I'm gonna boost the rate down very low. About to there. And we do get a little LED demonstration of your LFO speed, which is nice. That actually comes in quite handy. So yeah, very nice. Okay, I want to dig around because I feel like there's another parameter in here that I really want to use. I felt like there was one that lets you kind of do a little bit of voice spread overall, like without, where was that? Maybe it's in the oscillator. Range, blah, 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 blah. Nope, nope, no. That's also like true parameters. No, I guess not. Okay. I'm going to poke around for a second. Well, not a lot going on in the VCF, VCA. Pan spread. There we go. So it was under the VCA parameters. Here, I'm going to do what I like to do, which is I start off at, oh, you can go negative. Interesting. Start off at, well, let's get to middle here, 0. Close. Here we go. Let's increase it all the way. So that's pretty cool. What it's doing right now is basically as I play, I believe it's random, but it's essentially deciding in some way where to place each voice across the pan. Because I have it maxed out, it's doing a wide placement. We're going to bring it down. Let's do about 30. I think we can really hear where it's at right now, even though it's not a very large setting. But once I tack on some reverb at the end, with the reverb having its own kind of like, you know, pan warble kind of thing going on, it's going to sound really, really good. So I'm happy with that now. So before we get into any standard stuff, I want to be a little bit silly still. And we're going to go ahead and we're going to do the filter. But we're going to put it into... we're going to have it controlled by the control sequencer. Let's do so. Frequency at 28. Let's hear what we got here. Okay. A little brighter. Okay, great. This one we have to dial in manually because I don't think there's a way to set by using the mod trick to the control sequencer, but it wasn't that bad. Let's go into ARP sequence area. We're going to hit edit. We're going to hit edit again. It's giving us a little tip here to hit edit again to get to the control sequencer. I'm going to go up and enable it. We will keep the clock divider at 1.6. I'm okay with that. Let's see how we can go. Yeah, 32. Okay. Let's use 32. Why not? Maybe a little swing. Why not? I mean, it might be kind of nice. Let's do 54. Very tiny amount. And the slew rate. So this is interesting. The control sequencer is going to be steps. It's going to be hard steps. So it might be like, you know, and it's crossing over a zero crossing of 128 on each side. Meaning you're at 0 here, you can go up 128 or you can go down 128. And those are values that you then send to whatever parameter is assigned the destination field in your mod matrix. A lot of words there. Hopefully you're following along. If you're not, please stop and ask me a question. I'm happy to answer and to clarify. But basically, when you look at this here, I'm just going to go ahead and show it. So we got this set up. I'm going to increase the slew rate to about 40. I'll tell you about this in just a second. We're going to hit edit again. And it didn't take us to where I thought. Well, that's weird. Edit. Why am I just used this thing and it's not letting me get in there. Edit. Oh, it was there. Oh, haha. You got to go down We also have it on loop, so that way the control sequencer can be set to just play one time and finish and then be done, but we have it set to loop. Once you go all the way down to the sequence here, this arrow, then you hit yes, and it takes you into the editor. As you can see, it's moving along right now because it is set to go with its internal clock, which is, I forget, it's probably at 120 BPM or something like that. I did set it for 32 steps, so here we go. Use this guy here to set the step. I do wish it kind of told you which step you were on. It would be nice, you know, maybe even the slot right here, but you can kind of see it's broken into sections of 5. If you have a smaller sequence, it's going to give you more information, you know, more, what's the word I'm looking for? More resolution. Okay, so when we use the data knob here to set, so you can see we can go all the way up, 127, go all the way down, negative 127. So I'm going to set the first one at 17. I can also just use the yes and no buttons to go up and down. No, I can't. Look at that. I thought you could. Well, that would have been convenient. Because I would have liked to use... The normal function of this is this data entry is for kind of like large movements, and then you have the knob here for your fine movements. It doesn't work that way in here. So, all right, let's go down significantly. Let's go to 26. Oop, I did the... Well, that works too. Okay, so look at that. They switched it up. Ah, that's annoying. This is your fine value now. No, it's not. I swear it just did it a second ago, but I must be crazy. Never mind. All right, let's go up again. We're going to have it kind of percolate back and forth. We're going to keep it up a little bit. I'm going to go quick on this because I don't want to spend all my time just doing this. I'm going to be a little more random with it. Let's do real high with this one, real low. Back to there, back to the middle. You can see this is pretty amazing. Like, you know, if you've got an idea, you can really flush it out pretty quick. Go real low there, maybe back up there a little bit, back up there. We're going to do kind of a nice little stair climb, then back down, down, real high. I'm kind of trying to be a little random. Okay. You know what? I'm going to change it so it's even more random. I'm thinking I'm at 25, 26, maybe 27. So I'm going to go back to my... over here. And we're going to go up to 32 and change it down to 27. That'll give us even more randomness because instead of completing the whole 32 steps, which is kind of, you know, equal in the way of like a 16 bar... I'm sorry, you know, if you're playing music, you're playing 4 on the floor, you're going to break it into 4s, which is like 16, 32. We got this set to 27, so it's going to basically start the sequencer over before you would get through, say, a bar of music or something like that. All right. And let me go back to the mod matrix. We have it set for VCF. We have the VCF somewhere we like. Let's hear what we got. Decent, but it's not great. The thing I forgot to mention, I was starting to mention it, was we'll get back to the sequence here. Oh no, slew rate. So slew rate, like I mentioned before, you could see when we were actually designing the control sequencer there that it's like steps, hard steps. So you can hear it's almost kind of like it's like jumping parameters essentially. The slew rate reduces the extreme stepping, and it kind of essentially adds like curves or linear passages through there. If you did this the whole way, you can hear what it sounds like now. Almost no stepping at all. Honestly, we might keep this because this is really nice. Now here, let's complete no slew rate, total steps. Huge difference. Honestly, with a little bit of delay, it almost sounds like we have delay on there. We don't. With a little bit of delay and some nice, really, really dense reverb, even like hard cuts like that, like almost like a sample and hold waveform, that's what the control sequencer's kind of doing for us. Even that can sound real soft and pretty. So we're not going to go there yet. I'm going to go ahead and increase this all the way, and I'm going to go back to the mod matrix. And because we increased it all the way, I feel like I can give a little bit more power from that control sequencer to the VCF. So let's hear what we got now. notes here. I want to go and actually slow this control sequencer down. I'm going to do that. It's set as a clock divider right now. I'm going to do it as a quarter step. And you know, I hate to do it, but I think I got to back that back off. I want it to be a little more subtle. So I'm going to go back to 28. I think I had it at 22 or something. It's still very apparent right now, but I'm going to really layer on some nice reverb, and I think that's going to give, it's going to still have that kind of movement, but it won't be quite as stark. But if I try to reduce it now and then add reverb later, I feel like that would really muddy it up. So yeah, I'm gonna keep that. Okay, well, still we've probably scratched about 10% of the synth right now for this patch, and it's a pretty nice patch. Let's see what else we can do. I haven't messed with any of the other envelopes yet. I might do that. I've only used one LFO, and I've used the control sequencer. One thing I like, and it's just essentially kind of a limitation of having only two LFOs, is I really like the ability to assign more destinations from the same source. So for example, the LFO, we can add another pole off that to, let's do the resonance. Let's see what we get. If we keep holding them, we use the data knob, I actually can control the depth. So, bam. Okay, I do like it, but it's a little slow. So I feel like if we're going to add, I'm going to use LFO2 now for the resonance because I feel like I want that to be a different speed. Here's another little trick. This one was really good. If you hold down the edit and then use the rate button, you actually will change the waveform for the LFO. And I'm going to add SNG. Sample and hold is SNH. SNG is sample and glide, I believe. But it's basically leveraging that same thing we were talking about a minute ago with the control sequencer having slew rate. This is like sample and hold is no slew. Sample and glide is full slew. So we're kind of getting a second control, well, not really, but we're mimicking the control sequencer with a randomized sample and glide LFO. So let's hear what we got here. I'm going to increase the rate. I do enjoy the feedback from the LED here, which really lets me know when I'm getting into a territory that's way too fast for me. We do have some delay time, which I am going to incorporate just about 25%. Okay, let's see what we get. Here we go. I'm going to remember I'm at 5 here, halfway with the rate. I want to increase it because I want to hear what it's doing. Yeah. I feel like it's still a little slow. That's nice. It almost sounds like a bad connection, you know, like some kind of noise in the background. I like that. I actually like that a lot. God, I'm really wanting to go put some effects on this, but I still want to pull a little more out of it. So, let's hear. Just wanted to hear the difference between those two. So the keyboard function on here is really nice. It's almost like a tilt EQ when it comes to the filter. And what I mean by that, right now with the keyboard parameter all the way down, this is in the VCF section, the voltage controlled filter. You have an even amount of frequency removal, if you will, from the filter. Obviously, that's not quite true because you have different frequencies coming out as you play the keyboard higher and lower, but the same filter essentially is applied, the same amount of filter. If you start messing with this keyboard parameter, you're kind of tilting it, which means as I play higher across the keyboard, it's actually opened up the filter a little bit more, and as I play lower, it decreases the filter, or, you know, I should say, increases the amount of filter applied to the sound. I'm sorry that's a little confusing, but if you think about what a real instrument does, like a piano, if you play those lower register notes, you got a big long string or maybe 2 strings, but they're big and they're long and they vibrate slower, giving you a lower tone. and they're also bigger because they need to be. You're going to have a darker kind of overall timbre from that. It's going to be a little bit darker. If you go and play a big piano, you go over there and you push a key on the lower left side, it's going to be dark and low. You do it on the right side, bright and high, because it's playing a much shorter, much smaller string. Frequency is much higher in the vibration. So you get that natural response of timbre that's a little darker on the lower, a little brighter or substantially brighter, depending on how far you go, on the higher side. So this is a way to kind of mimic that. And it's very helpful, especially when you're building something like a really nice keyboard, but you want to have, this is not a multi-timbral instrument, this is a single patch. So if you want a solo on the right, but you want a nice kind of meaty chord on the left, you might do that so that it's a little darker here. The chord's not occupying as much frequency space because the filter is more aggressive on it. But up here, it's nice and bright, so those single notes or those melodies are going to punch through the mix. So very good feature. Honestly, every filter should have it. I think most do. I can't remember a synthesizer I've come across that didn't have it, so yay. So let's hear a little bit, because I might want to have a bit of a brighter... Well, here, I'm going to go extreme so you can really hear it. So, sounds pretty much the same. You can hear it much brighter. Here, it mutes out. So, I'm going to increase that just a little bit because I do want it a little brighter over here. Okay, not bad. Another thing that we can do at times, we're not going to do it this time, but they do have a high frequency filter here, which is very nice. So if you have a real big meaty patch, but you need to shave off some of that low end, if you do that, you're going to notice you're going to lose a lot of volume. It's just the nature of a real synthesizer. But they did add this handy little boost that boosts the lower section, so it's actually quite nice. It adds a little bit of beef back into it. Very handy. You don't need it for this patch, but I highly recommend using that, especially when you're doing things like... you want like a middle kind of bass sound that doesn't occupy too much of the low frequency, so you kind of shave it off, but then you add some beef to it. It can sit a little higher frequency wise of the bass, the kick drum, and that way they're not fighting each other. It's a pretty nice little trick. Okay, let's see. Got pitch mount, we're not messing with that. We've got most things I think I'd want to do with this patch, but because I'm trying to just do some demonstration stuff, I think I'm going to add one more modulation matrix setting. For this one, we're going to do something a little fun. I'm going to take LFO1 and I'm going to apply it to LFO2's rate, which should be interesting. Let's see. Edits. LFO1, we're going to do a nice halfway, 63 should do it. Whoops, come back here. For this one, I'm going to have to set it because if I do tap on the, actually here, let me see. Yeah, it did work. So if you want to mess with if you want to attach the source as the LFO as the source, you hit the edit button. If you want to attach the specific parameter, then you just go ahead and wiggle that parameter. All right, let's see what we get here. Too much. I'm going to bring that down to about 18. Let's see what we got here. Still too much. It's got to be very subtle. Down to 4. Wow. I'm going to go all the way down to 2. 1? Man, I thought the rate... Okay. Man, I would probably try to make that even slower. This is going to be so nice when we add the reverb. This has a couple different reverb options, and man, honestly, they're pretty good. Okay, at some point you can see up here TC Electronic and Clark Technic. Behringer is a part of a huge conglomerate. I think it's Music Tribe, and so when they bought TC Electronic and Clark Technic, whenever they did those, they incorporated their very fantastic effects, which is, I'm a little weird about mergers and monopolies, if you will, but I mean, the synth still sounds pretty good, so. Principles aren't always the answer. That's not true, but pretend. Okay, I think we're good. You know, the problem with synthesizers is you can just spend your entire life creating one patch if you really never let go. So we're going to let go. But not before we add some effects. So you can come up here. So this is really great. You can change the way that the effects are layered or stacked, or basically how the signal path goes through, which is awesome. You get a ton of different, you get 10 different, we probably call these programs, or what do they call them in FM? Oh, I can't think of the word. Anyways, you get 10 of them. And they basically change. You can see, you can have it linear. Everything's first effect goes in the second goes the third, so on. You can have it where actually the audio is split between 2 channels for 1 and 2, and then they merge back for 3 and 4, and so on and so on and so on. I am going to go ahead and do 1, 2, and then split. So basically, the sound, this is a send effect. I'm going to keep it send. You know what? I'm changing my mind again. I'm going to keep it send, but I'm going to do a linear send. This basically cascade is what a better phrase to say. So the first one I'm going to skip second. I'm going to go ahead and add a little reverb. Sorry, a little delay. Where is my delay? Got a 3. Ooh, let's do a... You know, I never use the tap delays, but we're going to do it. We're going to do it. I'm going to bring the mix down about halfway. Even though it's a send, I don't generally stack. I don't generally do 100% mix on the send. So because it's a tap delay, but also we have a slow attack, you're not really going to hear it. I also have other things going on, the pan, all that stuff. So it's all kind of working together, but all of them cannot be individually recognized, if that makes sense. Add this beautiful reverb. Let's do about 35%. We have parameters for all of these, and a decent amount. I'm just kind of getting something in here to get going. That's pretty nice. So if you are in the area, you can also see how it highlights up here. If you are on that specific effect and you hit effects again, you will go directly to its channel. So I gotta admit, the TC Deep Verb does not have a whole lot of options, but still very good. I'm gonna go with a hull, increase the decay to about 5. Let's go 4.8. The tone, no, I'm not gonna mess with it just yet. Pre-delay, no. You know, I'm actually gonna go ahead. It's a pad, so you don't need the delay coming in straight away. Mix is good. Okay. If you hit FX again and then keep tapping, you'll actually go through. So I'm going to do we'll go the long way. So if I go 1, oh, I'm sorry. It takes you right to it because we don't have any FX in 1 and 2. So it takes me right to FX3. That's great. Let's do a feedback. About 36%. We're going to do... That should be a dotted. Let's see. Guess that's a dotted 8th note. Oh, bar. Yeah. Let's go there. Okay, we did 3 of 64. Gain, no, we're fine with that. Pan, yeah, let's do a little bit of panning on there. We'll do 35%. Feedback's good. Factor A, I'm not sure what that is. I'm going to leave it. Gain, oh, I see. I'm assuming it's the taps. So I'm going to do, yeah, okay. Do a half on the VCA one. I'm going to do 2 on this guy. And then, well, no, I guess I'm wrong. I'm not really sure what that is doing. Because this is supposed to be 3 taps. The X feed on. X feed's going to do kind of a ping pong. All right, so here we go. It's okay. It's not great. We need a little more reverb on there. I want it to be just real space. Yeah, that's not bad. slow the rate down for this. I'm going to slow the rate down for this. Let's see if we get here. That's better. Ooh, that is nice. That has the sound that I'm looking for. I'm going to increase the decay of the reverb. It's got some interesting aspects to it. I'm going to do something I wasn't planning on doing. I just want to hear what it sounds like. I'm going to bust in the saw. This is the sawtooth waveform on oscillator 1, so it's actually stacking on top of that square pulse width. You know, I wanted to do a square only, but it's just so hard because sawtooth is just my favorite. It adds so much. Square by its nature has that nasally tone, and it's hard for me to find really good deep sounds with using just the square. That's pretty dang lovely. All right, we're gonna save that. All right, we're gonna go right. So this is important. Very, very quickly, I'm gonna just show you. This initial one here shows you the patch you are overwriting. You can come down and set, whoops, see, we can change which one it goes to, but that's not what I want to do. You would think you go down, because I'm trying to go down, but you're going to go left over here. So you can adjust the bank or the actual patch number. This is the one I want to overwrite. Filter whip category. This is a pad. So now we're in the section where it's talking about the new preset we're saving. So if I go down here, this is where we get to name it. I'm going to go ahead and delete. You can see this little section down here. And we'll call this YT. I think this will be number 4. Oops, no. I hit the wrong button. Y, and then next, there we go. T, and 4, I believe. We'll go with it. All right, then we hit right again. You actually had a feature where you can actually compare and listen to the one you're about to overwrite, which is actually very convenient. Okay. That's pretty nice. All right, let's make a bass. That's the next patch we're going to make. So we're going to hit over here. Let's hear what the preset is. It's called Pure Space DK. DK must be the person who wrote it. Ooh. That's a very pretty patch. I almost don't want to save over it. Whatever. You only live once, and I ain't got time for somebody else's patch. Where we got? Hold program, hit compare. Did it give it to us? Yes. All right, we're gonna make a bass patch. So, let's start off by, I think, honestly, that's kind of nice. A little bit of pulse width wave, and then of course the sawtooth. And we're going to add the second one in, although we may not want to do that in the end, but let's hear. Okay, so I took this one out because this is also a square wave. So this is oscillator 1. You can stack the 2. You can do nothing. You just have the second oscillator, but we're going to do a sawtooth on the first one, and then the square is the only thing you get for the second. The pitch is down, so it's actually sitting an octave lower than the sawtooth. I'm going to do what I talked about earlier, where I'm going to go to the VCA and turn the velocity sensitivity way down, generally a synth bass sound is not going to have that much velocity difference. You're kind of just really, you know, sitting in that low end. You want to keep it consistent, usually. So, we reduced the velocity sensitivity. We got our oscillators fairly tuned in. Getting some kind of aggressive phase on there, which I don't hate, but right now it's too much. So let's see if we can bring this, we can actually tighten this up a little bit with the filter. Okay, we're going to do a little envelope. I'm going to come over to the VCF. You do get visual representations for these. If you tap it again, you actually get one dedicated to that filter. So obviously this is not motorized, so you can see this is not representing what's on here. So we just go ahead and do this real quick. They're zeroed out. I'm going to go to a standard zeroed out filter or envelope, which is attack and decay all the way down, sustain all the way up, and release all the way down. So that's certainly not what we're after. Bring the sustain down all the way, and add a little decay. So basically, by sending this envelope is already hardwired to the filter frequency. What I'm saying is by using the envelope amount, saying open up the frequency instantaneously with the attack being set to 0, and then have a short decay where it comes back down. So basically it's like taking this knob, instantaneously going up and kind of coming back down slightly slow to where we have the sustain all the way down. Okay, we're going to get rid of the release. Do this. A hair bit of release there. I'm going to do just a slight amount of sustain down with a very short decay. What I'm accomplishing here is that the volume of the sound is coming in full steam, but then it's just ducking a little bit. Something I like to do because honestly I like it gives more presence to the transient. It's like the sound comes in, but then it tucks down a little bit. If it comes in and just stays up there, it doesn't seem as punchy, to me at least, and I think that's kind of a common belief. Okay, not bad. But we are going to come back to the VCA. We don't want a forever bass, at least not like that, so no, maybe we need it. Yeah. That's what we need to do. We need to come over to poly, which is our poly settings, and we're going to change this. Let's see. I'm probably not going to like this because honestly when I'm doing a bass sound, personally I don't tend to do unison because then you get that sort of phase. It kind of zaps out some frequencies here and there across the spectrum, especially on the lower end for a bass sound. It can be it can be a very good setting for a particular kind of bass sound, but in general, I generally prefer to have a monophonic bass sound without unison, just because I want that oscillator to have its own kind of space to really be nice and warm. So we have a whole bunch of options here, and I'll go over them real quick. We have poly, which means it's going to use all 12 voices. Each key is going to represent one. This is kind of neat too. I'll talk about this later because I'll... can I do it here? No, I think it's somewhere else. But you can see, as I play the same note, it cycles through each voice, giving you sort of a different feel because each one of these is a real physical oscillator, and it's going to have slight different fluctuations between each, slight little variations, which is really great. But you can set it so it always uses the same too if you want something to be very consistent. So love that. Love options. All right, so if we go to Unison 2, we're now stacking 2 voices per each key. You can see that demonstrated by the 2 lights being on. And we're still doing the cycling, which we're going to keep doing. Here's 3. I'm going to do lower. That's the max. No, the max is 12. Versus... So it's obviously louder versus mono. And honestly, there is this sort of phenomenon where louder things sound better. It's just, obviously to a point. But if you play something really quiet and then you play that same sound louder and you say, hey, which one did you like better? Most people are going to be like, the second one. So we're kind of being tricked, and at least I am, tricked into liking this one better. It's just so bass. But we're going to use mono. And I think once we get to the finished sound, I think it'll make sense why. So we can go ahead and try to add a little bit of this VCA increase here. That gets us a little closer. So you can see too, that's interesting. When you go to mono, I don't know how it decides, but it picked that voice. So I'm literally using one voice out of a 12 voice synthesizer. The other ones are on vacation. They're just hanging out. Okay. Let's see, unison detune. Oh, I should show that. So let's go to unison. So this is where unison, and I should have mentioned this too. Once we go to mono 1, we can increase and actually start using, it's sort of like unison, but not quite. So it's got its similarities, but it's not quite unison. I don't believe the unison detune works when you just stack mono. Anyways. Blast, that's fine. Envelope trigger mono, yes. We're not going to, I'm going to do a little oscillator drift. Very tiny. Probably won't even really be able to hear it. Just a little bit, just to kind of give us that organic feel, hopefully. All right, we're on to our next edit page. These are pitch parameters. We don't need to worry about those. Chain parameters, nope. Okay, let's get a little boost. So I'm going to do what I talked about by clipping the high. Let's just hear. I'm going to clip the low frequencies off with this high pass filter. This is not what I'm going to do in the end, but I want you to hear what it sounds like. So clearly we're missing a lot there. Boost. Not a whole lot, but enough. So if we actually went to something that was more reasonable. See that right there? And then boost. Sounds pretty good. Cool. All right. I think I'm going to bring the filter down a little more and do a little bit more of the envelope. What did I have going on here? Because tone mod. Oh, it's probably that drift. I'm going to turn that off because I feel like I'm getting too much drift. Where was that? That was under probably unison. Let's just turn it off. Okay, that sounds better. There is something somewhere. Was it global? No, it can't be global. There are so many settings in this thing that, yes, I get lost. I do. Let's see. Velocity sensitivity. We're going to take that off. Hear that? Interesting. I don't know if that's expected behavior or something's going on, but I don't think I have any of the drift parameters set or anything, but I'm basically losing. Almost sounds like I'm losing the square wave, or I mean the sawtooth wave every once in a while. Okay, let's see if we can maybe do a little more filter, a little more envelope. Let's go back to this guy. I'm just going to increase the decay a little bit. Okay, I need to figure this out because something is weird going on here. It's probably not in here. Device, nope, 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 nope. Fixed on level. Keyboard settings. Okay, this is what we're looking for. Fixed on level. Velocity curve. Don't remember what these are. Fixed on velocity. Fixed off velocity. Okay, we don't want any of that. Velocity curve is fine. No? Okay. Let's just go across here and see if maybe there's something I'm missing here. Nope. Boost is not going to have it. VCA. Ah, here we go. Let's get the ballsy. Hear the difference. Man. What is going on? Okay, let's look over here. Ah! Is it this, the DN reset? Wow, that's really interesting. What am I missing here? Okay, that's a little better. We'll octave down. Well, I'm getting some inconsistencies, but I'm sure it's my fault. Let's see if we get another page. Oh! Manual. It was definitely the second oscillator that seems to be doing it more. Huh. Well, it is an analog synth, so I guess some unpredictability is in its nature. But I do think there's something I'm neglecting to remember or something to set that will let it repeat. So it's a legato thing. Here we go. I didn't realize I had envelope trigger set to mono. And to be honest with you, not really sure what the difference between mono and retrig is, because in my head I thought they would be the same. But retrig is what we want. Listen. Cool, much better. I'll turn that drift rate down. Cool, cool. Okay, that is much better. Oh, that was the VCA. That's not what I wanted. I wanted the VCF. Too fast. It's a bummer that you can't really do much with the resonance. Well, if I did that, I feel like whenever you use the resonance on a traditional VCF like this, you basically lose so much. Watch, listen. So that low frequency just disappears as the resonant frequency just dominates. Almost sounds like I'm clipping on the inside of that a little bit. Cool. Just messing with the envelope to give it a little bit brighter finish. Okay, that's a pretty basic, simple bass. So let's see if we can cook it up a little bit. Let's bring in our mod frequency here. We have nothing on our mod matrix yet. So I'm going to go up to the first one. What should we do? I guess we can try, oh, I know what we'll do. We're going to set an LFO, LFO1. So I'm going to hold down the mod. I'm going to mess with the source by hitting edit. That'll tack in the LFO1 there. I'm going to set the depth to about positive 44. That should work. And then I'm going to come and do this tone mod again. And so let's just hear what we got now. This is not what I want to do, but right now we're just going to have a, let's see, what is our, we have a triangle wave going from the LFO at a very slow rate. I'm going to increase that a little bit so we can hear it a little better. Going towards the tone mod. Let's hear what the rate sounds really fast with this. Ooh. Sounds like a dirty FM bass. I like that. Maybe a little bit more envelope. Open it up a little bit. Too low. Here's what my plan is. I want to take LFO1, bring down the delay. I'm sorry, the rate. I'll hold the edit knob here using the delay time now. This is whatever which one's closer. So if you hold down edit and then do the rate for LFO2, if you do edit and the delay time for LFO1, you can actually grab. Should be able to. Well, darn, I guess you can't. Maybe it's this one. No. But I know I can. Yeah, I guess it only works for that one. Interesting. I always thought it worked for both. Well, we're going to have to go to edit. Delay time's down. The reverb, I'm sorry, the rate is good. We are going to switch this to a mono phase. Basically, every new key. It's going to be like, well, maybe there is a retrig. I swear it's very confusing. Oh, these phase options. Wow. Spread? I have not messed with any of this. Holy cow. Well, we're going to just stick with mono right now. We are going to come to the rate. It's fine. We're going to go and find this guy, the ramp down. And what I would like to do, I don't think I have the option in this guy, do I? Dang, I wanted a one time. Okay, that won't work. It's not what I wanted, so it's not going to work. Okay, I wanted a one time, so I wanted the LFO to just happen one time, basically like a very simple ADSR. We can't do that. So I'm going to come back. I'm going to hold down mod. We are still in the #1 slot, and I'm going to go to mod matrix. I'm sorry, mod envelope. This is a third free range envelope. It's not tied to anything. Obviously, the first one, the VCA, goes to the VCA. The VCF envelope goes to the VCF. The mod is doing nothing until you tell it where to go. So we are at the mod depth for the tone mod. I'm going to hit mod again on this side, which is going to bring up the visual for the actual ADSR. We are going to do a quick decay. Let's see what that sounds like. Oh, I know what I did wrong. Go back to mod. Let's go ahead and increase this up to all the way, and we're bringing the tone mod down. So now we're basically taking this tone mod and blasting it up instantaneously and then bringing it down a little bit slower. So like this, like that real quick. Let's see what this sounds like. Oops, octave down. I'd probably write this song in G. Maybe a little higher, actually. Maybe A. So we got a little bit more filter opening. Maybe actually, we'll keep the filter there and we'll open the envelope a little bit more. Okay. I'm going to do a little release on the tone mod envelope, which is what I'm calling it now since it's temporarily set to that. And this is in case I just do a quick note. I still want that tone mod depth to kind of finish because I'm also going to go to the VCF. And let's just get this slide up. I'm going to go ahead and increase the release on that. And a little bit more on the attack. We're at 60 something, go to 80. There we go. Cool. Here, let's mess around a little bit. Let's see, lower pitch. Square wave really adds a lot. Really changes the sound. Very nice, kind of like simple bass. You got like this trash can coming in. Cool. I did a sync here, so now they're basically forcing them to be at the same. Should be pitch, I think, right? Hard sync. Let's try to go one more octave down. Ooh, I like this. That's pretty good. I still feel like I need a little bit more brightness, just a hair. Let me see if I can increase the decay on this. Ooh, here we go. It's kind of losing the punch a little bit. Ooh, it almost loses all. I had a little hiccup there. Like all tonality down there. Okay, let's bring it up an octave again and then we'll play from here. Cool. I think that sounds pretty good just as it is, but let's go ahead and just add a couple of effects just for fun, maybe even just one effect. Let's see what we got. We're not going to do any reverb, not at least yet. I tend to use slot 3 for my reverb. I'm sorry, my delay, and 4 for my reverb. I kind of like that stack. That's what I usually go with. Those are kind of intense. Ah. Right. First thing I'm going to do. You know what? Let's try the amp, but I'm going to go up here. I'm going to go do a insert. So now we've basically negated the analog signal path because now our entire signal path is passing through the digital effects engine. But you can hear, instead of having this where it splits it, it's a cool sound. You can hear the phase versus. All right, let's see what we can do with this effects rack, this rack amp. Buzz. Let's hear what we get here. That's interesting. Punch. Okay, well, I'm going to bring the buzz down. I think it was F5. Let's try some punch. Yeah, I feel Crunch! A little too much brightness again. I mean, you know, this distortion's going to do that. Then we have Drive. I'm going to bring this down a little bit. It looks like I'm clipping it there. And then we got Level. Okay, we're not going to mess with that because we know what that does. Here's the cabinets. Okay, so we can turn the cabinet off or on. Okay, I mean, it's not bad. We can come back here and actually hear what it sounds like with it off. Can I do it? Yes. I guess I can't really because I'd have to go to Send. And then the mix level. Well, that's weird. I can't adjust that there. Oh, must be the nature of the effect for some reason. Okay, well, we don't get to hear it without it then. Maybe there's a way, but I'm just not remembering or not aware of right now. I'm going to go back and set this to an insert. Oh, well, we can go to bypass. Let's do that. I like it better without, so we're going to take it out. Get rid of that. Let's see what we can do instead. Chorus? Ooh. Yeah. Maybe just a touch of chorus. Yes. Okay. Here without it. I actually just want a little bit. I think that's plenty. Well, let's see what else we got here. We got a rotary speaker, don't need that. A vintage pitch, nope. Dual pitch, nope. Mood filter. That's like an auto filter. Meh. Ooh, I think a little bit of phase on there is actually kind of nice. Let's see what we can get for phase parameters. Effects, we get quite a few. We got speed. I'm going to keep that where it is. Depth actually sounded okay. Turn the resonance down a little bit. I'm not hearing much there. Stages. Oh, this is nice. Let's see how many stages. 12. Okay. I like that. It's giving us more depth. More stages, if you will, more passes through a phaser. Wave, I'm not sure what that is. We got another phase, envelope mod, tack, hold. I'm not going to mess with these because I kind of like the sound now. And, you know, if you're putting this in a mix, which of course you probably would, it's very rare to hear a solo bass synthesizer song, you know, a lot of this is going to get kind of lost in the mix, but just every once in a while you might hear that little bit of phase in the bass. It's nice. I like subtlety like that. Let's see if we can do one last thing. What's the Edison? I forget what that is. It's just like an effects. No, Edison. Let's see, on. Stereo. Yeah, we want that's fine. Oh, it's a stereo spreader. I want to hear what this sounds like. Center distortion. Okay. We don't need it. I'm going to go back and turn that off. Oops. Yes, I do want to. That is kind of nice that they let you know, because I think sometimes when you change certain types of effects, it'll actually wipe out the settings you made. So they do give you a little bit of a heads up. Okay, let's take this down. I'm going to affect the level and the mix. Oh, because we went through an insert, we have to keep in mind that the level here now is the actual level output. Go back to 100. We can probably go back down another octave. Let's hear. Nope. Well, I want to try one last thing, and I almost never do this. But since it's the only sound we're hearing right now, I'm going to add a little bit of delay. That's way too much. We're going to go, let's see if the delay has it. Yes, 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 low cut. Any good delay should have a low cut. You're cutting everything 500 and below. That's nice, because now you're not getting the delay. If you have delay on a bass, you don't, I mean, personally, I'm going to go for this way. I don't want to delay the entire frequency bandwidth of that bass, because then you're just going to have a woo, woo, woo. But if you just do the high end, you still get a nice little bit of delay, but it doesn't really interfere with the main frequency in the original hit. I love that. You know what I'm going to do? Actually, I'm going to bring the high down a little bit too. I'm just going to get this focus mid sitting between 500 and 957. That's the only range that's going to the delay. Yeah. All right. I'm happy with that. Let's write it. Okay, we are at H6. We're going to go over and we're going to mark this category bass. We are going to delete everything. Boom. Hit this twice to get to the letters. Oops. Where was it? There it goes. I'm a little rusty with the naming convention here, but once you get used to it, it's actually fairly quick. You can see that the fader remembers where you are, and then you can use this guy for the fine tuning. So I know the numbers are down here. We are YT5, and then I adjust there, write it, boom. It is 9:30. Oh, I really want to do one more sound real quick. We're going to do a quick lead, my weakest point. Well, let's try it. Octave swell. Okay, let's hear what this sounds like. Gotta give the preset a listen before we wipe it out forever. Yeah, I'm not gonna miss that one. Okay. Program compare. We have our initialized patch. We're doing a lead, so the first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna fix the VCA, keep it as ballsy. That's interesting that when I changed it to the new sound, it kept transparent. So I wonder if that's like a global. That can't be a global setting. There's no way. Interesting. I'll have to figure out why. We want what are we doing? Lead? Yes, we want ballsy. We want velocity sensitivity. Well, let's just go about 27. We don't want a lot. I mean, usually if you're doing a lead, you want to be leading, and you know you can use your volume pedals and stuff like that to kind of back down when you are maybe just playing a melody in the back end or something like that. But when you're just doing that lead, you want to stick within a certain amount of compressed sound range, you know, a certain amount of volume. All right, let's hear. Oh, that's a little pretty hot. But that's looks good on the screen there. So get out of there. Okay, I want to be really wild with this thing. So let's go ahead and bounce the VCA down just for now. Maybe that's not loud enough for everybody out there, though. So I'm going to go back up. Okay, we are doing a lead, so we're going to also go back to the poly here, and we're going to set it as a mono. You know what? We're going to do a unison. We're going to do unison 4. Yeah, that's hitting up there. I'm going to decrease the volume again. Okay, now we get to hear what the unison detune does, and this is one of my favorite parameters. It instantaneously takes you to that place of like 90s dance music where you had the super saw waves. At least that's what it does to me. It basically takes that sound and just widens it out and detunes each one of the voices that are stacked. We have 4. You'll hear. Here we go. Ready? So, quick. Here's dry. Here's with a little bit of that unison. We're going to go about halfway. A quarter of the way. Cool. All right. We might mess with that a little bit more, but for now, we're going to stick with it. I do want a little bit of oscillator drift. Not much. Not much. Let's do 5 and 5. 5 on the rate, 5 on the depth. This is just for the oscillator. we got properly named portamento. Everybody starts calling it glide, but so I wonder if this is going to work, and maybe this is why they do it. I want that unison sound, but I want mono. So let's see if I do mono 4. One more portamento. Let's do a little bit of memory here. So maybe it's VCA. I'm trying to think of where I can get a retrig. Oh, man, there's so many options. Envelope retrig. Retrig. So without that kind of bright retrig in the beginning, you can get really kind of lost in sort of waviness when you're going playing too fast with a decent amount of portamento. Sorry, I've been learning Portuguese, and everything with an O ends with U. Portamento. Okay, so getting close. But what I think I need to do is one of my all-time favorite things to do, which is bring down, let's get back into a neutralized envelope. Okay, we're going to bring the release out a little bit. Let's get that showing. We'll bring the sustain down. You can actually see what I'm doing here. So right now we're going instantaneously up, but then the decay is set to nothing, meaning it's going instantaneously down, but it's only going down a fraction. So you really can't hear. It sounds like I'm controlling the volume right now. But here, there's that little bit of attack. So if I want to, this is a nice little trick too to really dial it in the way you want. I'm going to add just a little bit of decay. So that's basically where I'm going to have most of my volume, and then it's going to end a little bit lower. So we're basically making space. So it's popping in the beginning and then coming down just a hair. Kind of gives it a little bit more space in terms of or it just gives it more, what's the word I'm looking for? More dynamic. It gets more dynamics. It's like, and I don't mean dynamics in terms of compression, but I mean more like it just hits. It hits and backs off a little bit. If it's just a wall of sound on a lead, it could just kind of feel like it's not doing enough, or it's not presenting itself strongly enough. Okay, we haven't done any mod matrix yet, so I'm going to try and wrap this up pretty quick. So, what are we going to do? First of all, let's I'm not bringing in oscillator 2. I'm happy with just the one oscillator. Right, but we do have two waveforms going for it, which is nice. Let's mess with the PVM. You can actually hear a little bit of zipper noise in there. And that happens a lot because the MIDI information coming off this actual knob is less resolution than you would have, say, internally, which is what we're going to do. We're going to internally set an LFO to modulate that PVM. So we'll do LFO 1, holding down the mod. We're already in the mod matrix, holding down mod. Lets me do little hot buttons here. Boom, we got LFO 1. We're going to set the PVM, our pulse width modulation. We're going to do a nice, decent amount. Let's go halfway at 67. And our LFO, we're going to keep a rate pretty low. Let's try low there. We're going to do, what waveform should we do? Let's do a sine. Nice even sine, nice flowing sine. No hard anything, just kind of nice and liquidy. A little bit of delay time. So this is a really nice feature, and the idea here is that your LFO is going to wait to come in. This comes along the concept of the dynamics again. And the reason is if you have the LFO coming in right away, whatever parameter you're affecting, it's gonna change the timbre immediately. This allows that first hit to come through and be nice and consistent by delaying the LFO, but then it starts doing its little bit of magic, and you'll hear. So here's with it, no delay. And we probably don't have enough. I want to really demonstrate it. I'm probably going to fix it. So we're at 67. I'm going to bounce it up to 127. Watch if I delay this. You can hear it's got more oomph. Because the LFO is not affecting that tone parameter, which is going to change a little bit of that punch in the beginning. We're going to delay it. Cool. All right, let's keep going. I actually like that, so I'm going to keep the PVM depth there quite high. Next one. Okay, what are we going to do now? We are going to bring in some filter, maybe? I really like how bright it is. What should we do here? Ooh, too much. You know, I'm going to do something I never do. I'm going to completely leave the filter alone. I like where we're at. Cool. No, we're going to leave the filter out of it. Why? We don't even need it. Let's see. Let's go ahead and do some more modulation here. So we are going to affect... Oh, let's hear what the noise we get out of this. Okay, we're going to do something fun again. So I think we have this one. No, we're going to use the mod. That's right, because we couldn't do what I wanted last time with the LFO being a single pass, you know, not doing a looped LFO, but just like a single one. So we can't do that on here. We're going to do the mod. So let's hold down mod here, tap mod. This is the envelope, and we're going to do a depth. I like to start in the middle, and we are, oh God, what was I going to do? Oh, noise level. Okay. So let's bring the mod up. Let's see what we got right now. Obviously a lot of noise. I don't want that noise there. I'm going to zero these out. I'm going to bring this down all the way because I want the noise to be gone. But listen. It's a long decay. Still hear the noise. It's kind of gone now. But if we do it like this, it's just there in the beginning. It's just like this little kind of bright hiss right when you first hit that note. It's adding a very strong gate sound, so I'm going to actually use some attack. Just enough to take it out. Too much. There we go. I don't know. I'm wondering if we should just take it out altogether. I'm going to do a lot less. I'm actually going to do a little more because I actually want a little bit of that transient it's adding. Okay, not bad. All right, one more mod, and then we're gonna add some effects, and then I've got to call it because it's getting late. I don't know. Let's just go ahead and just bring in LFO2, which we have not done yet. We're gonna do light. We're gonna start at 30. Okay, let's see what we have in terms of our destination. So start at none, start increasing. LFO1 rate, no, we're gonna keep that there. Not really going to mess with LFO 1 at all. Oh, that is cool, though. You can change the shape. Watch this. Strangely enough, it is changing the shape. It looks like it's changing the rate. Oh, that actually doesn't sound that bad. Okay, I'm not opposed to that. I'm gonna do another one though because I feel like we landed on that too soon. I wanted to see what else we had in terms of sources. All right, back to none. All right, let's get out of the LFOs. Pitch. This is gonna sound awful, but let's just hear it. You get some really fun sound effects out of this thing with you know, settings like that. Here's the fine. Ooh, I don't hate that. I think that's actually kind of cool. It gives it a nice, I don't know, kind of warble to it. I'm going to just do light, 10. Okay, we're going to keep that too. All right, one more with the same LFO. This LFO 2 is going to do a bunch for us today. All right, let's go over to the destinations. All right, oscillator 1, nope. We're going to, ooh, what is PM now? We're not going to worry about that. T-mod, we already got something doing the T-mod. No, we don't. Oh, but we didn't use oscillator 2. Doesn't matter. These are decays. These are our envelope stages and rates and curves. Ooh, we did not mess with the curve yet. I'm going to do that here in a second. This is something I really love, and it's fairly rare on synthesizers, unfortunately, on hardware ones. Pan spread. Not hearing any pan spread. Let's do less. 37. Okay. All right. I think we're good with mods. Let's do some quick effects just to give it some nice flavor. We're going to keep this as a... I don't know. This is where I wish they allowed a combination, because there are definitely times... well, let's see. Maybe I can do it in this way. Yeah, I guess I kind of can, but essentially I don't want the reverb to be an insert. I want it to be a send, but I want the other effects to be an insert. So you can kind of get away with it a little bit like this. So let's just try this. Maybe I want 1 and 2. Yeah. Okay. We'll keep 3 clean, so that way we're getting a clean... Yeah, okay. Clean is, so 1 and 2 are going to be our inserts, and then 3 and 4 are sort of going to act like a split channel, where 3 is going to be clean, therefore we have a sort of dry channel not hitting the reverb, and then we have the 4 is going to be a fully submersed reverb. Okay, so let's start with 1. What are we going to add here? We could certainly do a little bit of chorus. Now I passed the chorus duo. There are some effects on here that are like 2 effects in 1, but I don't really ever choose those because you reduce the amount of parameters you get, and you have 4 slots on here, and I'm not usually stacking a whole lot of effects on a synthesizer. We have a regular chorus, and then we have the chorus D, which is the basically emulation of the Juno 106, the Roland Juno 106, their chorus. Cool. That's with some of these guys. What do we got? Power on. We got mode stereo. Yeah, well, here. Let's what. Versus. Okay, the stereo obviously preserves the pan we actually had going on earlier as one of our modulation matrix settings. Mix, we kept that there. Let's do SW2 on. Okay, I like that. I think we're gonna go ahead and skip. No. We're gonna see what this distortion will be like. It's part of the problem is I don't think there is a mix on the distortion. No, so you kind of just like get it or you don't. Yeah, I'm not crazy about that. Taking it out. Didn't work. Yes, I am sure. Well, we could do another chorus. Ooh, a little bit of flanger. One other thing I want to do real quick. I did use up both LFOs, and they're not going to do, the way they're set now, they're not going to be able to accomplish what I want now. So I'm going to go ahead and do a modulation to the mod wheel. I'm going to increase this by about 52. And this is going to control, well, I don't know if I have this as a straight setting. Let's see. No. So what I can do, okay, I think I know what I'm going to do. Delay time's pretty good. So I'm going to use LFO2. I want to get some vibrato, but I don't want it to come in right away. So I'm going to choose LFO2 because I know I already have the delay time set, I think, pretty well where I want it. And what I'm going to do with the mod wheel is instead of trying to affect that directly, which I don't think I can, I'm going to affect LFO2's rate. And then I'm going to come over here and I'm going to do another LFO2. This is going to change the sound quite a bit because you can see I have 3 instances of LFO2 and I'm not about to use the mod wheel to change the rate, which will affect all of those. Plus I'm adding a 4th one. So we're going to do here. And we've got that guy, and we're going to go and do, let's see if I just hit edit on VCA. Nope. Okay, we're going to go over to this, and we're going to go all the way to the ends. Not all the way, but close to it. And 2. Interesting. Where's my amp level? You can use mod matrix sources to control other mod matrix sources, which is pretty cool. At least the depth. Pan's not what I want. Active just turns it on. Oh, that kind of is it. Okay. I'm going to bring this down because I don't need it to be that fast. So you can see super slow. Got this nice little LED indicator, and as I turn the mod wheel up, it increases. Nope, we need it more. Got to be more drastic. Cool. All right. Let's go back to the FX. We've got this one going straight. I'm going to do 100%. No, not 150. Let's do 100. This is our clean channel. So chorus and flanger are mixed, you know, our sounds going through those two directly, and then it's being split 3 and 4. We're going to get clean, you know, in terms of no reverb, and then we're going to have a separate reverb channel. And we're going to do vintage reverb. We're going to match the level, 100. We might change this in a moment. We're going to also Foley mix this. Cool. I'm going to go back and actually increase this mod wheel amount because I have full control of it. So if I do... Need it about there. So that's probably about 100 instead of 127. Let's see. All right, well, that's a rush job, but I'm okay with it. I think it actually sounds pretty decent. So let's go ahead and write this guy. We are definitely overwriting this. This is a lead for our category. Delete, 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 delete. Boop. And let's set our YT. This would have been what was 5. So this is probably 6, I think. QRT. Oop, that's T. And doot. Was it 5? Was it 6? Okay, I can actually tell by going back up here, seeing what this last one was. 5. Okay, so we are now writing for 6. All right, let's go back over what we did today, real quick. This was. Great. Oh man, I love synthesizers. They're just so much fun. Okay, well, I'm going to wrap it up. Thank you for everybody who checked this out during the live stream, and thank you also for people who watch later, because that certainly helps with the hours, watch time, all that kind of stuff. I am going to take the rest of the year off. Well, sort of. You won't see me for the rest of the year, but I am going to come back stronger and bigger and more focused. I'm going to spend the next 2 weeks actually really refining what I feel like is working and what's not. I don't have a whole lot of followers. I don't have a whole lot of views yet, so I'm not going to base too much on analytics. It's going to be more just kind of like how I feel about it. God, if anybody feels like mentioning anything, please do so. But yeah, so I'm gonna spend some next 2 weeks spending time with family and also just focusing and kind of really defining what I want to do with this. I have a bunch of cool ideas. I hope people like them. I'm gonna try them out and see which ones actually seem to stick. But one thing I'm really gonna work on too. Hope I'm not piling too much of myself on this break, but I'm gonna go through and try to sample all of the different patches that we've made on systems that actually have presets, because I did create some Toneverk multi-samples with some straight up analog gear, no presets. Basically, I get to make it, capture it, then it's gone. So I have those done already, but I'm going to go through and basically find all the YouTube patches I've made since I've started doing this, sample them into my Toneverk, create multi-layered instruments, multi-sample instruments, and share those. I'm also going to, if I have time, I really want to, I'm going to do the same with my MPC. I should have some programs that'll basically auto-convert the Toneverk, hopefully, into MPC ones, but I'll have to test them out. Long story short, I want to have a bunch of samples and multi-sampled instruments to share. So yeah, so keep an eye out for that. I would love to have it as a Christmas present. That's my goal. I don't know if that's going to happen. Maybe it'll be a New Year's present. Maybe it'll be a March 1st present. I don't know. But I'm going to do my best to try and get it out as soon as possible, because I really hope that people enjoy what I'm doing, but also they might use these things to make their own music. So anyway, thank you so much for joining. I appreciate it. Thank you for Behringer for making this awesome synth. I appreciate that too. And I will see you all next year. Thanks.